What we're going to talk about today is I saw this title, Diablo 4 is dying fast, and this is the reason why. And I wanted to see this and kind of give my reaction to it because at the moment, I've been getting this comment more than I've ever gotten before this week in particular because we're right before the season changes, and I feel like this is the lull of people that are either getting bored or people are leaving and waiting for season one, etc. And I have had to address this comment like multiple times per live stream. People will come by the live stream and they will say, Diablo 4, is it dying? Is it a dead game? Or I'll get the memes like people will put a comment like Diablo 4 sucks, it's a dead game, etc. And so I'm curious about another person's opinion. And I'm also particularly interested in this gentleman's opinion, Sylvus, because I watched his breakdown of the cow level concepts. And he actually is well-spoken, seems like an intelligent guy. He obviously plays the game a lot. And so I'm going to have a link down below where you can, if you want to bypass my reaction, just go watch this video. I would encourage you to do it. I'm going to kind of give my take on this and go through this, watch it blind, kind of see what it thinks, because this is a very interesting topic for me. But I will have all the credits, etc. down below. I would recommend going and giving him a like and a subscribe because he's got some really good videos. So with that being said, let's kind of get into it here.
There's a million Reddit posts about quitting the game because there's nothing to do. Almost no one on my friends list seems to play Diablo 4 anymore. And a lot of big content creators have pretty much moved on from what I've seen. On my level 100...
A lot of the big content creators are people that hop from game to game. For instance, Asmongold, he never really covers one game in particular. He'll cover like a bunch of them would be an example.
Druid, I can't think of a single reason to log in. I mean, I hardly wanted to log in to even make this video, and it's sort of a downer, to be honest. To top it off, the prospect of creating any sort of alternate character seems pointless when we're less than 2 weeks away from making another new character for Season 1. Why don't I have anything to do on my Druid? Well, it's because I had farmed best in slot gear a long time before ever hitting level 100. My loot grind was over by the time I was level 85. And that is the massive problem.
That's a pretty different experience than what I experienced. I definitely had to still farm gear. I will say there is one part that makes it where alts get that way quicker, which is you can literally transfer like best in slot gear from character to character. For instance, I have a pair of pants that it's like the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Okay, which is I take these pants and I take them from my druid and give them to my necromancer. Why? Because they're disobedience max row, and they also have 4 slots of damage reduction or 3 slots of damage reduction plus total armor. I have 2 pair. So depending upon what I'm looking for, I just move the pants from character to character. I don't actually need to farm the same pants on every character. I can just move them.
That is plaguing Diablo 4's late game content. I don't know who tested this. I don't know who signed off on the system. I don't know how it got past all the reviews for Diablo 4. I do not know how after years of development, this is what we were left with. Let me show you guys why it's bad. So the power of an item uses a breakpoint system that determines the tier that the potential range of stats can possibly be when they are rolled on an item. The final breakpoint is item power level 725.
Yeah.
Basically, any item with a higher eye power level can roll the exact same affix amounts as an eye power 725 item can. So a 725 item and an 845 item could have identical affix rolls on them.
Yeah, so the cap of the item power is 820, as far as my understanding. But he is 100% correct. This is a disappointing part. So the item power only really increases the base stats in terms of like armor damage for a weapon. You can see like item power, higher item power on a weapon. So it's going to have higher damage for the most part, etc. So this can be disappointing, but the affixes, yeah, they're going to roll the same.
Which is like the whole part of the system that's broken. The only exception to this rule is that weapon damage increases or the resists on jewelry goes up or the armor value increases.
Yeah,
like the very basic stats of the item can go up, but the affix themselves stay the same. 725, 820, doesn't matter. The affixes and the amounts that they can roll are identical.
I think this is actually a really good point by him because honestly, when you farm a 725, that can happen pretty early. And then like he's saying, he has best in slot gear already. Now, I don't think everyone's going to experience best in slot gear early because they're probably still learning what best in slot is, etc. I didn't get my gloves and my necromancer till 94. I didn't get my pair of pants that actually dropped for my necromancer instead of the sisterhood of the traveling pants thing. I didn't get those pants until like, I think it was 95. So some of the gear can take forever, but he's 100% correct here.
The only exception to this rule apparently is for plus life and plus thorns, which actually do continue to scale with the item power level. Regardless, this kind of makes the whole sacred / ancestral item thing completely worthless, but that's a whole different discussion. To help this make sense, here's an example for you. I have multiple Hunter Zenith rings here. I have a sacred 632 item power level and a sacred 701. As you can see from the roll ranges listed on the items, both could be identical in stats, even though they are 69 item power levels apart. Only the small plus resistances number is higher on the higher item power version.
And the base stats are really not a big deal unless we're talking weapon damage. Like, I will have a pair of 760 pants that have way better affixes, so I'm not going to take the 31 more armor or something off the other pants that I get, because that part at that point doesn't matter anymore. I have 10% armor roll on my pants that are the ones way lower item power, but the newer one that I got is like a 6% armor. Well, it's still worse. So yeah, I get what he's going with this.
705 sacred version that I upgraded past the final breakpoint of 725 item power level, which now suddenly makes it fit into the ancestral tier of upgrades. I could have done this with the 701 ring as well, which I found at level 58. Pushing it past the 725
really good point.
mark actually re-rolls the entire ring's stats.
It's actually a really good point. It's not tied to ancestral and sacred. It's tied to like the item power. He's making some good points here.
Now imagine if I got some god rolls. At level 58, I would have managed to get a nearly best-in-slot ring. I don't want this. This shouldn't be possible. I want my items and my character to grow in power all the way up to level 100, not just stop dead in its tracks because of some stupid item power mechanics that they created. There's a reason people are saying they hit a wall, because they literally did. You're rolling on best-in-slot gear in your 50s. Another quick example is these Tempest Roar.
And it's also a little bit like, it's also, it double punches you at that point in the game, because the level like 60, 70, the 100 experience is the same thing with farming Nightmare Dungeons, which is admittedly way better than it used to be because the experience is way better. And I've been playing both solo and in a group, like farming fast, and I can tell the experience difference, like it's significant. But he's making some very astute points here in terms of the itemization, which is, I think, why earlier on in the game we're seeing a lot of people that are like, not liking the end game of the game, and a lot of those casual people, and people like myself, to be honest, that play, and go slow and kind of pick our way through things. I get into that point too. Like, I also understand this point about the items. I'm at that point as well. And the way I've seen it is I got more time out of the game because I went fairly slow. But if you blasted through the game and you like maxed out everything already, I could see you being bored pretty quick.
Helmets that I have. I've got 3 of them here, but these 2 of them are both 780 item power, okay? Both of these, 780 item power. You'll notice the armor is identical because that scales. Except the one that I found at level 87 is superior to the one that I found at level 95. Why is this? Why are the roll ranges the same? I don't think that the 95 should just automatically be better, but it should have had a higher floor for the stat rolls and a higher ceiling. Like, let's say 10 to 17% for the damage while shapeshifted affects. Instead of them both rolling 7 to 14%, I think that the level 95 version should have a higher floor and a higher ceiling.
I agree with the higher floor. I'm not sure about the higher ceiling. I feel like the higher ceiling would, instead, I think we would see complaints that what people would be mad about then at that point is that, okay, well, now I have to be level 95 before my gear comes on. Like, they feel like the goalpost would be moved and it's unachievable for the average person, which maybe it should be unachievable for the average person. Maybe that's the point of the gear. So, I have some wiggle room there, but I totally agree with the floor part, which is higher level should mean a higher base floor and gear. More often, you should be getting better gear at a higher level. I agree with this.
Odds of you getting a better version increase that way. This system should be based off your level, and item power should scale with that, not using this bizarre iPower 820 maximum that they've come up with. Here's the system that I would use. I tried to visualize it so it would make a little more sense. Basically, as you level up, you create a sort of item power bubble, and this bubble would move forward by 10 each time you level up all the way to 1,000 at level 100. This makes not only the base stats of the item better, but it slightly increases the floor and ceiling of the rolls for the affixes, basically what I just described a minute ago. Also, as the item power maximum increases by 10, it drags the back end of the bubble with it. This helps to eliminate another problem, which is getting trash tier items with low item power level when you're already way beyond those. When you're level 100 and you're getting sacred I power 670 items, you're never going to use them, so why drop them?
The only one problem with this is I actually don't particularly mind. Like, I don't mind the ability for somebody who just unlocked Ancestral Gear to be able to get like a god tier item, because I think it's exciting for people that are in their 60s or 70s to get the chance of the god tier item. And I think that happens rare enough that it's okay. I completely agree about the base floor thing, because it doesn't feel like there is a loot reason to continue the level. The only reason you level is so that your level is higher, so you can push higher nightmare tiers. You can do things like Uber Lilith, and then you can also increase your what am I struggling with here? Paragon board. That's the word for it. Increase your overall Paragon points, so you can put into your Paragon board. Other than that, leveling doesn't feel too good because all the monsters kind of go with you. So I'm seeing what you're saying.
At level 1, you can get item power 10. You hit level 2, it goes up to 20, 30, 40, 50. You get it, okay? So right now at level 5, you could get an item that drops between item power 10 and 50. As soon as you hit level 6, the item power 10s will disappear. As soon as you hit level 7, the item power 20s will disappear.
Yeah.
So it keeps more of the gear relevant to your actual character, and you are feeling like you're unlocking or accessing more
that's an interesting way to fix this.
You can now get something that's better every single time you level up. Now, early game, it's not nearly as much of a problem. No one really cares. It's
True.
This section in here, the last 4 rows, where it really starts to hurt. Let's just put it at level 100. You know, this bar, you can change, I guess, and modify the bubble. You know, you could make it extend 10 levels, 15 levels, whatever you decide is balanced, or whatever I guess the developers decide. Items go up to 1,000. There's 100 levels. Multiply by 10. Ta-da! It's easy. But you could make the bubble go back 5 levels, 10 levels, whatever. But at level 100, I probably only want to see items in the range of...
So what I like about this is that it eventually removes me getting sacred drops, because what doesn't make any sense to me is I'm level 100, I do a world boss, and I get a pair of sacred gloves. It's like, I'm not in world tier 3. I have well since established the fact I don't need those gloves. There's already a big gap in power from Ancestral to the top tier Ancestral. I've only ever gotten one pair of 820 item power level items ever, and that was a pair of gloves. So I don't understand why I must suffer through getting sacred drops that I don't want to pick up unless it's for gold anyway. And there's enough fodder from Ancestral Gear that if I wanted to just sell stuff for gold, I don't need to have the sacreds drop. So yeah, I actually fundamentally like this because it removes that problem as well.
Of level 900 to 1,000. So this kind of solves that problem, right? We don't have to worry about getting these items over here when we're all the way over here. And also, we can't get these powerful items here when we're over here. I don't want a perfect rolled level 100 item at level 66.
I don't actually mind that part. Like, I don't mind people getting some god tier item early. I know maybe it would add an incentive for people to push towards the higher level. And I understand that. And, you know, okay, I accept that. But I also don't mind, like, I don't begrudge the people that are level 60 that got a god tier pair of pants that have quad roll and all this stuff, etc. I actually don't mind that. What I would rather is that the stats, like the item power base stats, like armor, weapons, resistance, etc., to mean more when you get the higher item power ones. Because you can get a God Bro affix, but then getting God Bro affixes as well as a God Bro like item power or something different entirely, which then means if we go by his system, as we increase both the floor and the ceiling, then those base stats mean more like resistances, armor, damage, etc. And for that reason, you're still having a reason to either refarm those items or to still get another god tier item at the higher part. So I agree with like 90% of what he's saying. I just don't really mind if someone gets a really good item early. I think that's exciting for those people.
I want to go from level 99 and get to 1,000 and be like, wow, I can now get item power 1,000 items. And these are going to have a chance at being better than anything I've ever seen before in this game. That's what we need. that keeps the hunt valid all the way to the end.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
At level 100, you could try and deck your character out in eye power 1,000 items. None of this other junk that they have going on here. I always try to provide a solution if I think that there's a problem with something, and I hope the solution made some sense to somebody. I mean, they definitely need to fix the endgame chase somehow. This whole system could apply and probably should apply to Nightmare Dungeons as well, because they don't scale at all. Anyway, to challenge myself, I resorted to playing a companion spec druid, which is the worst build in the entire game.
Yes.
Thanks for watching the video. Take care.
You know what? That was a very good video by Sylvus here. I'm going to put a link down below to this. You guys should go leave him a nice comment and tell him that was a good video, because that was a very intelligent breakdown. I actually completely agree with the majority of his points in that video as well. And I'm starting to see other people leave this comment as well about the game either dying or it's dying fast, etc. They're starting to approach more, which is why I made the video kind of expressing that I think what was someone called the future Diablo 4 is decided soon, as I think was the clickbait title on that one. And the reason I was saying that is because I legitimately believe that what they deliver with season 1 is going to decide for a lot of people whether or not they do actually quit the game basically forever into the next season, or give it another try again. So I think season 1 really needs to deliver. And I think the points he's making about the itemization in terms of item power, and especially the point he made about the sacreds, when you take a sacred up to 725 and it breaks into the ancestral point, doesn't really make any sense, because the item breakpoints are what matter, not necessarily the tier of the gear. Smart points by Sylvus. But anyway, that's my feedback and reaction to that one. Love you all. See you on the live streams today.